E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. Today, we are brought to you by the great people at Fritz Bianculli Law Firm. We got a great week of shows here with the NFL Combines kicking off. Johnny Mack, how you doing on this Monday morning, my friend? Nope, you're muted, J Mac. You pulled your mic, I think, man. Oh, man, a tough Monday start today with the snow pouring down on John. He's still muted, and we cannot hear him. I'll set the stage. Oh, there he is. I think he's back now. Johnny Mac, are you with me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I got you now, brother. I got you now. How you doing on this Monday morning?
Well, yeah, going well. About 16 inches of snow here in South Jersey, so I got to deal with that. Now I got to deal with some microphone issues, but we'll get through it.
We'll get through it, John. It's all piling up on you. Let's hope tanks through that snow today. That's 16 inches for you. John, big week today, man. Our big week starts this week. Really getting closer to that new league year, John, where, the tables turn, the calendars turn in the NFL, and you start to lock in on the next football season. The Combine kicks off this week. How you doing on this Monday, John, when it comes to Eagles, NFL, and what is ahead for this football team?
Yeah, I think this is a big week. I think I've said it pretty consistently about, last week and since about 10 days out. I think it's a really big week in the NFL, but I don't think it's a really big week because of what people perceive it to be a big week. And what by that, I mean, the Combine, obviously you're going to see all the prospects for the draft workout and all that kind of stuff. And that's the public setting. But the more important is the behind the scenes stuff. Number one, for the draft, it's the health checks and that kind of stuff for teams. And two, it's sort of like a convention for executives and agents to sort of lay the foundation for what's coming in free agency, which starts on March 11th from a fan perspective with the legal negotiation period. So this is sort of where it all gets started. So all that stuff you heard about, well, the Eagles aren't talking about trades for A.J. Brown or trades for this or trading for someone else. You don't talk about trades at that time of the year. This is when sort of it starts. Not to say that they're going to trade A.J., but you get my point. So
right. This is where the seed would be
exactly
watered,
and certainly the Eagles are gonna get calls about people trying to acquire A.J. Brown. And Howie's always very upfront about that kind of stuff. He listens to everything. He checks in on everything. So he wouldn't be doing his job if he didn't pick up those phone calls. So I think that mentality of, that just doesn't exist in the NFL. You talk about everybody. And I said, that's what Joe Sheen showed them being on Hard Knocks. That's why GMs don't want to be on Hard Knocks, because they don't want fans they don't want fans seeing some of these conversations they do have. So all of that stuff will start in Indy. And so, yeah, I think it's a very big week. And then the second thing, sort of getting ready for this hellscape that we're on. It's like here in South Jersey, we live on the dark side of the moon, but, texting with some people around the league, this is not really a highly regarded free agent class, I think, as a whole. So I think if you want to get better, you might have to do some inventive things, trades, things like that, maybe things out of the box that you're not thinking about. And certainly from the Eagles' perspective, they don't have a ton of cap space to work with. And I
didn't think they were going to be big players, John, in free agency, but it is still worth noting, obviously, the class.
No, and the class is not really that good as a whole. And that's why you see somebody like Jalen Phillips potentially getting overpaid. So, I mean, I'm pretty confident that that's the Eagles' number one priority going into free agency, to get him back. But they'll have a walkaway number, as they typically do. And There's a lot, we talked a lot about valuation and some of these valuations, like with Jalen Phillips, the 17, 18. I'm like, boy, I just don't think that's right. And we're going to see.
You're going to be right, especially with the class not being all that, and it kind of I mean, I know we've talked about it to some extent already, the class, but we haven't really heard of that many big names. So it doesn't surprise me that the thinking around the league right now is that the class is not all that good.
No, yeah, I mean, and again, that can change when as the teams who are in salary cap issues,
right? They cut some people.
They have to cut some people, yeah, and again, you have trades. Max Crosby, is not a free agent, for instance, but would take a trade to get him. So, I mean, you can go and that's why I say outside the box. There's not a lot of top tier free agents, and that's why I think I saw on the ESPN one they did or it might have been Popper from the Athletic. He was number 3. So of the guys who are going to hit the market, he's top tier, and generally that happens. It happened with Milton Williams last year. I know that I know the Eagles kind of felt like he would get somewhere around 20 million. All of a sudden you wake up and he's got 26 million. I mean, that's a big difference.
Yeah.
It makes you feel better when you get these things wrong, because even the teams get, they're like, they don't know. They do their best educated guess, but it's supply and demand. I mean, you want a defensive tackle like Milton Williams. There aren't a lot of defensive tackles, and you got to go above and beyond.
And you got to pay $5 million above a market value,
Yeah. All of a sudden, Carolina gets into it, and they're at 23, and then everybody says the deal is done, and here comes New England, and they give them more money. That's sort of the exact definition of supply and demand.
And I think we have a couple of people who are ripe for that. I think Jalen Phillips obviously being number 1. John, we're going to see what happens with that, man. It should be a good start to all of that talk, as John just insinuated, with the combine kicking off. I believe some people have already checked in to Indy. I don't know if it was deep. I think I saw defensive linemen and linebackers and kickers. So they do John, what do they start with down there? You always say the most important things that come from the combine are actually things that don't get reported because, there's protection, I guess, on it and stuff, but it's the medical exams and stuff and the interviews, I would think is what it is. But just elaborate on that, John, for the people.
Well, yeah, the interviews, I don't even think, because that's changed as well, too. So you get a very finite amount of time. So when you see, and you'll see a bunch of guys, the Eagles talk to this guy, the Eagles talk to, well, the Eagles talk to every guy. So, yeah. I mean, that's not necessarily indicative of that much. But yeah, the health stuff, the on-field stuff doesn't start till Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, I think you're right, Thursday.
With defensive linemen and linebackers. I think the kickers as well, which will be exciting for people. So that kind of stuff so you're doing the measurements first. And yeah, the health checks, which obviously we don't get information on, is of course the most important information that we need. But the teams do, and that's why it's so important from their perspective. And then, as I said, the mini convention aspect, the competition committee already met. They had a press conference, I guess, yesterday, talking about things. Interesting. I get there's no real push. Rich McVay said there's no real push to get the tush push out of the game anymore. And I get a lot of Eagles fans are clapping back with that. I'm like, oh, nobody cares about the safety of the tush push anymore, which was all bullshit, as we said. Yeah, they were, they just, however, maybe they should be, because I think in hindsight, you got a crippled center and a crippled left guard. Maybe you should care.
Yeah, agreed, John.
And that's from the Eagles' perspective. And hopefully I'm exaggerating. Obviously, Cam Jurgens is hopefully going to be fine after stem cell treatment.
The point still stands. I mean, the point still stands for sure.
And Landon's going to be back, but obviously wasn't that steady. But clearly that had an impact. You guys have to see that.
Jason Kelsey told everybody that. I mean, he said on WIP, a little bit ago, or I forget when, took years off my life, and you see it now with obviously the two guys who were the crux of that tush push, really banged up. So we'll see. I did think that was pretty funny though, John. Now it's like, the Eagles weren't able to use it effectively. Now nobody wants to. Now nobody cares about banning.
Yeah, well, nobody cares
Yeah.
now. That part of it's real. I mean, they weren't trying to ban it because the Eagles were good at it, but that's sort of when they became sort of not good at it, it became like, all right, well, who cares? They're not going to run it anyway. That type of thing. And maybe they bring it back. Although like I said, the health aspect of it is, even though people doesn't think it's real, it seems very real for the Philadelphia Eagles. Even though they may not have known it at the time, they certainly didn't know it at the time. But I think in hindsight, you can look at it and say, yeah, I mean, that impacted Cam and Landon specifically.
No doubt about it. The thing I like about the evolution of that conversation, actually, John, I don't know if you agree, is sometimes I feel like the NFL will work it out, like it's by itself, and the play never got banned. And ultimately the Eagles aren't effective at it, or as effective at it anymore, without any legislation, without any rules, without any changes. So, it's a tough play. It worked when it worked, and the Eagles are paying the price for it, and other teams are not. So I think the NFL kind of worked it out by themselves. I always thought that was going to happen with the play. I never thought it was going to be this long reign of dominance that never got fixed unless the NFL stepped in. So I'm kind of happy that it's not getting addressed, but I do think you're right about the health point. It's got to be forefront with that conversation. I think that play should be retired regardless of what the league does.
Yeah, I don't, from the standpoint of look, when I think removing it was about the ugliness of the play and the false starts and the not calling it properly, not seeing what's going on.
That. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like you can go back to the Wildcat. I mean, people with the Wildcat were like, well, how do we stop it? What do we do? And they figured it out, and that kind of stuff evolves. Even the RPOs, they kind of figured it out a little bit. Although, they also at a point of emphasis did not call it like college, as I said, and really be strict about, all right, you're only allowed a yard down the field. And that sort of limited the RPO game. So now it's more manageable. So I mean, there's a give and take from that standpoint. Look, I've said when they took it out of the game, when you were for a long time, football fans, and I'm aging myself, pushing was illegal for far longer than it was legal. And they took it out because this will ring familiar. It was too hard to officiate. And they took it out, and they didn't envision there's always unintended consequences for these types of things. I've always said, pushing shouldn't be allowed. It just shouldn't be allowed anywhere on the field, downfield. It shouldn't be allowed. Too much of an advantage for an offense. I tend to be a defensive guy, but defenses are better than offenses now. So that's why I love. Yeah. That's why I love defensive guys, because they, no matter what you throw at them, the good ones figure out a way to stop it. And you saw that. I think you saw that in the NFL last year. But again, if you're talking about just the aesthetics of the game, the Flores like havoc guys are the guys who are stopping things, and that's kind of ugly football, because that's like your hair's on fire. Bust up the play. Get one negative play and you're off the field. That's not, Bill Walsh, beautiful football with just kind of ugly football. So that's kind of the reaction to it. I have a ton of respect for those guys to figure that out, but it's not aesthetic, I would say.
Right. No, I agree completely. John, with the combine kicking off, a couple things we got to get to, little pieces of news here in Eagle Land that we will get to. You kind of hit them with the tush push and the combine coming out. What's the number one thing, John, or the top couple of things that Eagle fans should look to take away from the NFL Combine this week? As it kicks off, and really feels like the start of the new league year. I know that doesn't kick off until I think it's March 11th. It kicks off, and the legal the legal negotiating period, as we call it here on Birds 365, widely known as the legal tampering period, starts, I believe, March 9th. March 9th, is it? Is it March 9th? Let me double check.
No, March 11th.
March 11th. That's right. My I thought that. Yeah, March 11th, and then March 13th.
Then you can officially sign people on March 13th.
No, it says online here March 11th is the free agency and March 9th is the legal.
Oh, really? I could be.
Yeah, I mix them up too. I keep going back, but that's what it says. I'll double check it to get all confirmation for you guys. But March 9th right now, noon Eastern, legal negotiating, legal tampering begins. March 11th, 4 p.m. Eastern, 2026 new league year begins. That's kind of the rundown on that. John.
Yeah, a little bit earlier. All right. I got to readjust my calculation there. Yeah, that's better. Earlier the better, as far as I'm concerned.
What's the top thing that, John, that Eagles fans should look to take away from the combine kicking off?
Yeah, like I said, free agency first. Even though it's ironic because it's under the guise of the draft sort of thing, but the foundation of free agency is sort of laid out there, and that includes trades and everything else. So when we bring in 1A and 1B, whether you want to say is AJ, figuring out what you're going to do with AJ, and then Jalen Phillips, those to me are the 1A and 1B. And before the Eagles get started with the rest of the offseason plan, they have to figure out, are they going to have AJ back? Are they going to have Jalen Phillips back? And then you could move forward. If you don't have those guys, that completely changes your offseason. Completely changes, because now you got to get a meaningful contributor at wide receiver, a meaningful contributor at edge rusher. And I mean meaningful. And that totally shifts gears. So in-house first before you even start thinking about out-of-house.
And the two in-house moves, those are big moves. We just talked about the potential for Jalen Phillips to get a much inflated deal because of maybe the weakness in the free agency market. We'll keep an eye on that. And then when it comes to A.J. Brown, John, I think there's this thought process, John, that the Eagles know whether they're trading him or if they don't. And part of me, one, I don't know if that's true or not. But two, my belief is that the Eagles don't know, just like we don't know. And that's not to say that they're not thinking about it, but they might think right now on February 23rd, well, we want to keep A.J. Brown. And then the right offer might come. A.J. Brown's agent might say something, whatever the case might be, and the Eagles look to take the best deal. The Eagles are keeping A.J. Brown, Xander. What are you talking about? And I'm like, well, they might think that right now. I don't know if they're actually going to end up keeping them, depending on what they're offered on the market. So I think it all goes in, and we will see kind of what happens with that. Johnny Mac.
Well, that's why you pick up the phone. I mean, that's why you don't say, no, so-and-so's off limits, so-and-so's off. There's very few players that are completely off limits. Very few. Because somebody might bowl you over. So, I mean, it does no good to say, I'm not going to talk about this. You're not doing your job. So, that's why Howie has become Howie, the due diligence part of it. So, and there's going to be people calling because, as I said, the rest of the league thinks he's going to be traded for the most part. Certainly a large portion of people certainly think he's going to be traded. So that means people are going to pick up the phone and say, hey, what will it take to get A.J. Brown? And if it's good, to your point, if it's so good, I've said pretty consistently, if there were no cap issues, they're trading A.J. Brown. So that's where I'm working from. And what I mean by that is they're tired of all the stuff. They're tired of it. So if there weren't other restrictions, like they're trading them, no doubt about it. But there's significant restrictions and there's significant salary cap issues to deal with. So the best case scenario would be to talk him into Sean Mannion as, the natural, basically the next great offensive mind, and everything's going to change and everything's going to be copacetic. But ultimately, this to me, when you're a player, and again, the Mike Tomlin quote I love: we want volunteers, we don't want hostages. If you're a player and you don't want to be here, the Eagles have done it in the past where certain guys haven't wanted to be here, and they say, all right, well, we don't want that around the organization, so we're going to go in a different direction, most notably Carson Wentz. So, I think a lot of it's up to AJ. And if AJ really wants out, they're probably going to move him.
John, there's the comment you just made about the Eagles would move him if there wasn't cap. I agree with you. My pushback is not on that at all. I agree with that point. My question for you is, would they be right? Because sometimes in things you want things, right? Or you want something, or you believe something is the best, but might be better to suffer through it. You can't always get what you want. And it might be better to suffer through it, or you might do yourself a bigger disservice, by submitting to what you want. So the Eagles are tired of A.J. Brown, and they think, the juice is no longer worth the squeeze. Well, my question for you is, would they be right about that, John? Because that's not an easy player to replace. And they might not like the antics or some of the stuff, and I'm that's fine. They're entitled to think that or want to move on from it because of that. But would they be right? That's a tough thing for me to thread the needle on.
Well, I look, if a player doesn't want to be here now, I think they're right. I use that Tomlin quote not because I like it for for being clever. I think it's true.
Right.
You don't want people who don't want to be in a situation. That's not to say you can replace them from a talent standpoint, because I don't think you can. Certainly not short term, probably not long term. This is one of the best players I think the Philadelphia Eagles have ever had. I'm not shy about that. I'm an AJ Brown guy from a talent perspective. They're not replacing him, but I do think people don't understand you can win different ways. Like they won having this big time receiver along with Devontae Smith. But they also won Super Bowl 52, and look at that group. Alshon's a good player, he's not AJ.
Right.
There are different ways to win. So you would have to add some competency at wide receiver. You're not going to all of a sudden Devontae Smith bumps up. I know there's people in that building who believe Devontae Smith can be a wide receiver 1 in this league. And all of a sudden he bumps up, like what happened with Jackson, Smith, and Jigba in Seattle when DK left. Like DK was number 1. He leaves, and look at what happens to JSN. I'm not saying that's going to happen to that level with Devontae, but there are different ways you go about things. And now what Howie will also say is, we don't like giving away good players, which is also true. So there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to discuss, but just because you can't play the same way with the same style of receivers doesn't mean you can't win a different way. And by and large, the Eagles have already signaled they're going to try to win a different way anyway, with the new offense and changing schemes and changing concepts and changing philosophies. So maybe this is the time to do it from that perspective, because you're changing anyway.
Fair thought process there. John, where's the JMac scale on the JMac meter on A.J. Brown? You've been teetering between 48 and 52. One way, another way. It's like a seesaw right now at the park when you were a kid. Where is it today, JMac?
The seesaw has come down. Maybe it's the snow. 52-48. I'm going to go 53-47 gone.
Oh, we're going up on the gone meter?
Yeah. We're going
oh man, this snow better melt quick, because that thing could be astronomically going up. We'll see. All right, John. So 53-47. I like it. Your first break from the 52-48. And it's toward AJ being gone, 53-47. Great opening segment there in a to start off the week with the Combine coming up, everybody. Some other Eagle news that we will get to here for segment number 2. I want to thank and welcome all of you guys for being here. Good to see everybody. I got to get to my super chat here, John, because I should have mentioned this at the open, but I think your muted mic maybe had me fumble a little bit. That's all right, J-Mac. I'll take it on the chin. Here's Hogan. He says, congratulations to both USA men's and women's hockey teams for winning gold. The announcer said Jack Hughes back on the ice, not sure about his teeth. Hogan, that was an electric win for the United States of America. The first Olympic gold since 1980. I got the 1980 thing up on the wall back there. John, did you catch any of the Olympic games and the U.S. winning gold yesterday? That was a pretty electric win for America yesterday.
I wish I could say yes. I didn't. Boy, it has nothing to congratulations to the USA. Obviously, I'm rooting for the USA. Congratulations, men and women. I don't get into the Olympics anymore. But then when I was younger, when it was truly amateurs and all that kind of stuff,
yeah, it was really good.
I just can't get into it anymore. I just can't. So it's not. It's not my thing anymore. I've kind of checked out on the Olympics for years, and it has nothing to do with summer, winter. It has nothing to do with hockey. I'm not a hockey guy, but nothing to do with hockey. Even basketball. Everybody loves seeing the NBA players. I'm like, I hate it. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't like it.
It's funny you say that because I kind of feel the opposite. Now, I didn't grow up, obviously, at the same time as you did, but the reason I feel the opposite, John, is not because I think you're wrong, but, we cover football. We work in this industry where we talk about football all day. Like, I was watching the Olympics. It just felt good for it to be so different than what I cover on a daily basis because, how much we talk about football, how much we cover and are engrossed in football has maybe pulled me away from some of the big four sports. I don't watch basketball like I used to. I don't watch the MLB like I used to. I do. I watch them, but I'm not as entrenched in them. So the Olympics feels like a nice change of pace for me, but I haven't watched it as much as, I probably should have this time, but I did watch the game yesterday. It was electric.
Well, I'm kind of like that too, but I go even further because, I used to be a huge NBA fan, used to be a huge baseball fan. And I'm not into that as more. Part of that is just because when you cover something every day, you're like, when I get away from the NFL, when I do have some time, the last thing I want to do is watch another sport. I'm trying to, decompress by watching some other stuff, whether it's something on Netflix or
whatever. Something different. A change of pace here. Yep.
Exactly. So that factors into it as well. Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, pride in your country and things like that. I don't know. It's just a lot of that is missing now that was there before. I think it creeps up, but I mean, yeah, it's great. I don't want to downplay it. For people who enjoy it, great. I just, to me,
it was a cool story though, John. I mean, I love obviously the your nation part of it is a big deal, but if you didn't see the story, John, just real quick. So the Hughes brothers are, 26, 24, and 22. All three of them have been drafted to the NHL. I mean, they're amazing players. Jack plays for the New Jersey Devils, but he gets hit in the third period, John, with a stick right to the face. And he's gushing blood. His teeth are out. I mean, he's smiling big. You can't even, his teeth are gonzo. The main teeth are slashed. And then in overtime, he gets the goal to win gold, the golden goal with the broken teeth at 24 years old. Pretty amazing story, just how it happened. So it was pretty awesome. Good win for the United States of America. I, for one, was very happy, enjoyed it very much. Woke up at the crack of dawn to get ready for that sucker and watch the game. So congrats to USA. Congrats to the women's as well. Both of them beat Canada. All right. So later, Canada. Maybe next time, Canada. We'll see you. All right.
Yeah, well, and that's another thing. Like, if you think about 1980, because I know you're a big 1980 guy. I mean, and you should be. That That's a bunch of amateurs, legit amateurs, beating maybe the best team in the world at the time.
100% the best team in the world. The NHL All-Stars did not beat that team.
So I mean that that was, to me, that in a lot of ways, and I'm not a hockey guy, and I watched every minute of that because it was so amazing. Miracle. It was a legit miracle. Legitimately the best team in the world, losing to a bunch of amateurs. So yeah, I don't think you have that part, but it's always good to have the USA Canada rival. We talked, I don't know if it was you or the world thing that they do.
Yeah, that was like a year ago. Me and you got
and I'm like, well, I'm like, you're trying to replicate the Olympics, which you can't do. And I think you saw that with this, even though it's not the same level.
Big one, yep.
You can't do that, but 1980 will never be touched again, because it's just, they changed the system.
No doubt about it. Good stuff, Johnny Mac. All right, John, let's get into segment number 2 here for the Philadelphia Eagles. First off, I want to let everybody know we're going to have Chris Franklin in hour number 2. All right, I want to talk to you about Saquon Barkley, John. Saquon Barkley on record now. I go on, I type in Eagles news. I'm reading all my Eagles news, getting my updates on the weekend. I'm like, what does Saquon have to say? The NFL.com's everybody's got the Saquon bit. Refreshing, he calls it, John, and excited to work in Sean Mannion's new offense. What do you make of the comments from Saquon Barkley showing a little bit of optimism and confidence? He says this: I've never really seen a system like his. It's refreshing. Make of that what you will, John, your reaction.
Yeah, well, if you watch the whole interview, which, first of all, understand, Saquon has talked to Sean Mannion. So, look, he's a pro. He's going to say it the right way. And sometimes change can get you excited and can, put a little charge into you. So, it's good that he's excited for it. But he also mentioned that, they also asked him, what's going to be different about this? And he's like, I don't know. I mean, they're not practicing. They don't, he's not install. So, I mean,
what a refreshing new offense. Well, what are you doing differently?
Exactly. I mean, it's like, take it with a grain of salt, but Saquon's a professional, and I think he understands that a lot of what they're doing, I think the perception is a lot of what they're doing is to try to impact the passing game. And it is, but I think more it's to get the running game back going to where it was. It's going to be similar to what they changed last year. When they went under center more because they were having some difficulties just with guys who have more experience.
Right.
So it's about marrying the running game with the passing game and all the play action. So the passing game is a part of it. But if you had to gauge it, getting the running attack back to where, I don't know if you can get it back to where it was in 2024, but as close as possible is the biggest part of this. It's the biggest part of this. And obviously Saquon's a big part of that.
And maybe that's why Saquon's feeling so excited,
Yeah, well, I mean, you saw it last year. There was improvement, because teams have figured it out, the havoc aspect of it. Just, all right, they're in the gun, he's only got one way to go. Let's blow this thing up. And how many negative plays they had in the running game. And that's why they won under center more than they typically did. But again, you didn't have a tremendous expertise of running wide zone and scheming, reach blocks and things like that to play that style of offense, where Saquon would have more options. So I think a lot of it is that. Maybe that's where the excitement comes from, as he said. But yeah, I mean, I think the quote was, "I got to beat him," Sean Mannion. A lot of the guys, Lane met him as well. We didn't really talk about X's and O's, just kind of kept it introductory. So, I mean, it's not similar to trades when the Super Bowl stuff. It's similar. It's not the time of year you talk about scheme and concepts. You're not allowed to with the players, literally collectively bargain. So yeah, it's good that he's excited, but and rightfully, I forget who I think it was, I forget who was doing the interview for NFL media, but they asked him the question, and that's what he said. We didn't even talk X's and O's. So I mean, he's just a pro, and he's going to say what he should say, and he did.
And does it change your thinking though, John, on like what the offense is going to be? I think when Mannion first got hired, and you saw the amount of change happening on the offensive staff, me included, many people were thinking, well, is this going to be a West Coast offense? How different is this going to be? Jeff Stoutland's gone now. Are they completely blowing up this offense? And then I think, John, what happens is people associate, whether right or wrong, that type of offense and that terminology, West Coast offense, the spread offense, the outside zones. They associate that with the passing game, whether right or wrong, they associate it with prolific passing. Have you shifted off of, not to say that you ever thought that they were going to come out and throw the ball 40 times a game, but I think there was a period of, gee, are they shifting as much as I think they're going to shift? Are you still on that, or do you think it'll be a lesser version of that? What's kind of right now your changing perspective of what the offense is going to be and how different it's going to be from what they previously did, Ron?
Well, it's definitely going to be different, but it's going to be very similar to the ship last year, just with more experienced people who run that style of offense. So when they started the move to more under center stuff, I think that it's going to be very similar to that. Hopefully, and it was more effective in the running game. And then obviously you want more effectiveness in the passing game. But I think it's about supercharging that part of it. So I think you've already seen what it's going to be to a certain extent. Just with people who have more experience running that style, where the Eagles tried to make the move in season. And again, had some success, but a bunch of people didn't have a ton of experience running it, teaching it to players in season who didn't have a ton of experience doing it. And now you'll have the off season to set everything up the correct way and come back. So it should be better. But I think you saw a little bit of vision of what it will look like. And that's, you're never going to have the Bill Walsh West Coast offense. I mean, you can't have that with any, because you don't have, as I said, you don't have the time to prepare. You don't have the time to teach, to do all the stuff they did back then when they had unlimited amounts of time, basically. It's just, you have to put together, you have a certain amount of time to practice, certain amount of time, and you have to get what you want done in that time frame. So that limits you somewhat, but I think you already got to sort of look into it, a look behind the curtain, because they tried it last year when they shifted to more under center stuff.
I do think you're going to see some of that, John. It's going to be interesting to see how the offense goes about it. John, are you feeling any one way or the other about? I know you don't view it the same way a fan would in terms of like optimism, but just from a pure reporter standpoint and covering the game, you obviously are fully understanding of good offenses and not as good offenses and prolific offenses and things of that nature. Do you feel one way or the other about whether the Eagles will have great success or lack of success with this perceived change, potential change?
I think it's more of a step back to take 2 steps forward. My problem is I don't know if they have the patience to do that. So I'm not terribly optimistic. People will say I'm never optimistic, which is fine. Pile on.
No, I think you're practical. I think I do. I've been doing the show with you now for 2 years. I think you're pretty practical.
Yeah, I think I am too. I just see, I don't see a lot of patience here to undertake what they're trying to undertake. I just don't. I just don't. So, I think, for It's a very strange decision by Nick Sirianni to go this direction at this stage of his tenure as the head coach, because I do think he's on the clock, and to hire a 33-year-old guy with 2 years of coaching experience, 1 year coaching a position room, hasn't play called. I mean, he would literally have to be a natural to not have some growing pains.
Right.
I
Right.
mean,
Which is very rare to be that type of
yeah.
a natural.
Now, could it happen? Sure, I guess it could. But I mean, if you're betting logically, he's going to have some growing pains. And this is not the city where you can have growing pains.
Especially coming out last year, it feels like it's going to be heightened.
Yeah. I don't know if there's any city anymore. You can, because again, we talk about 21 new offensive coordinators around the league. There's only 32 teams. And
Yeah,
most of the ones,
microwave society, John. Microwave society, yeah.
So I think it's a bigger problem than just Philadelphia. But in this typical instance, with this typical group, with a veteran offense, I'm not going to use old. I'm going to use veteran because you called me out, which is right. They're not old. So I'm going to use veteran. With a veteran offense, I think you either try to, squeeze out the last bit of juice from that open window, or, you go in a different direction and start to reboot. I don't want to say rebuild, retool. And they're trying to half it. Saying, well, let's see if these guys who've been playing this way can play this way. I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, me neither. We'll see what they end up doing though with it. You think it's going to help Jalen Hurts?
I don't see how.
Well, I mean, in theory, if they get the run game going again and they can.
Well, that to me is different. Like, yeah, I mean, they would have been fine this year if they got the run game going. I mean, if he has a better running, guys play better. Yeah, he's going to be better.
Yeah, right.
But I'm talking about
Friday, John. If the Eagles' offensive line was good this year,
the
Eagles have. I'm like, that's a good question, bro. I think they might have went and won. Who knows, man?
Yeah, they might have. They might have. I'll tell you, when they started playing well down the stretch, defensively especially, I said, we're going to be in Santa Clara again, man, because nobody was good. I thought the Rams were the most well-rounded team. I thought Seattle was good, not great. Yeah. But I still think the Eagles could have, if they played well, if they played to their, resumes, I think they're better than either of those teams, but they never played to their resume offensively. So I mean, yeah, he can improve, but is it going to help him? Is it going to help him after 5 years of playing a different style of football? I don't see how that's going to help him individually. I guess you can bend over backwards and saying it's forcing him to evolve in a different way. I look at it as, making him, to me, the definition of coaching, I always say it is maximize strengths, minimize deficiencies. I don't sit there and go, hey, let's force this guy to pick up the deficiencies and not take away from his strengths. I don't think that's good coaching.
We'll see if they end up doing that. I do think it's going to be interesting. Who do you think on the offense it helps, Joe, the most? Saquon? None? Receivers? O-line?
I think a healthy Cam Jurgens fit. But that's health.
And why do you say Cam?
I think because he's very athletic when he's healthy and he moves.
Right.
And he's, to me, he's he would be a perfect, the whole thing with, for years, the Eagles wanted, Kelsey's ability to be an athlete and get down the field at second level. They wanted something comparable, even though it's hard to get comparable. So he's very athletic and he could when he's healthy. And he could be really good at reach blocking and really good at wide zone. I think he's one. Devontae is one. I think that this could fit him very well. Other than that, I don't think, but that shouldn't surprise people because they didn't build this way. They built the other way. And Lane and Jordan are athletic, but they're big, powerful people as well. Landon's just a pure power player. Tyler's sort of in the middle. I think he can do it, but we'll see how it shakes out. AJ can do pretty much anything, but I don't think it improves if he's, I think if he's focused and on board, I think he can do anything. But I don't think it helps or hinders. Maybe helps from more traffic if that turns out to be the case. Tight end, nobody's under contract. And Saquon, to me, is not the most patient runner in the world. So I don't know if, expecting him to stay patient and stretch the field horizontally and then cut it back doesn't seem like the strength of Saquon Barkley. At least I haven't seen it.
John, you think they could introduce more of the two running backs? And I know we joked about that some last year because everybody wanted to see Tank. That's not really what I'm referring to. I'm talking about a real potential for two backs. Obviously, you're going to have your main bell cow and Saquon, but maybe would they benefit by looking to add somebody to that room that is a change of pace or you can get on the field more often? I mean, I look at some of the other teams around the league that do this well. I mean, even the Rams this year did it well with, Blake Corum and Kyron Williams. You got obviously the good duo in Detroit, which I think is going to end now. I think Montgomery's a free agent, but Montgomery and Gibbs, there's a couple other teams as well that have, the Bears did it this year with DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monungai. Do you think the Eagles could approach that more or embrace that more, or does that still not make sense to you?
I think they might use a fullback more. Carson Steele they signed. We'll see if Ben Van Sumeren can come back. And I'm talking about 5 to 10 times a game. Not a ton. Maybe Cam Latu as well, but I could see that. To me, the dual and most teams have that philosophy, but most teams have that philosophy because the top guy is not as so much better than the second guy, and sometimes it's complementary. You brought up Swift as the outside guy, Monungai's the power guy. Like Saquon at his height can do it all. So, I mean, the question is, where is Saquon physically? Do you need to limit it? It would be more about that than they don't want to take him off the field because the difference between him and Tank is pretty significant. It's not as even as Swift and Monungai. Now, the difference Gibbs is phenomenal, but for whatever reason, they want to limit his touches. And if the Eagles want to limit his touches, then you could get that kind of back and forth. But that's what it would be about. It wouldn't be about a compliment. Because Saquon can do it all as a runner in his style. I just don't know if that style is susceptible to what they're going to try to run.
Yeah, well, we'll see what ends up happening with that. I do think it's such an interesting offseason, John, with the perceived change, the potential change. What's real? They did change out the entire offensive staff. Now, what does it look like on the football field? I think it's all going to be very interesting. But Saquon Barkley did make those comments, all right, and I gave you guys them earlier. A little bit of excitement for Saquon Barkley.
He's super excited. We didn't talk X's and O's.
Yeah, pretty funny interview. John, another piece of Eagle news, not really Eagle news, and you probably won't be a fan of this one, but I did see it. And I felt like I should bring it up here on Birds 365. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is open to a return to Philadelphia. I think he told somebody this on a live stream John, you interested in bringing C.J. Gardner-Johnson back? And if
I'd love to see it. I don't think
he's half the price of Reed Blankenship, are you in or not?
I would love to see it for selfish reasons, but I don't think the Eagles would be interested. Yeah, so
they could continue the trend. When CJ's here, they go to the bowl, and when he's not here, they have a crash.
Well, that's how CJ would frame it.
And yes, it is. Yes, it is.
But remember, if you got CJ and Drew McCuba lining up, you don't have the traffic cop.
No.
No, I don't think the Eagles would be interested in running down that route again. But I think CJ's got to be open to everybody at this stage of the game. He is a good player, and why he's bounced around the league so much, I don't know.
Well, I think it is partly what we talk about. I mean, I think he's a little bit of a headache, and teams don't, the juice.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's clear. And I don't know if he's, if that's getting home now to him and he realizes that, but, he got traded from New Orleans, which is bad enough because he was a good player there. And then he came to Philadelphia and they made the Super Bowl and he led the league in interceptions, even though he missed 5 games or whatever it was. And he's a tremendous playmaker. And then everybody's shocked that the Eagles didn't re-sign him. He goes to Detroit, gets hurt, comes back to Philadelphia, has 6 interceptions again. Super Bowl, as you mentioned. And then he's out, the famous "Hey buddy" call. And he goes to Houston the last, I don't know, couple games down there, and then he's got to go to Chicago. And through the whole time, he's a playmaker. A little bit of a freelancer, so I don't think Vic likes that. But yeah, he's high maintenance, to be kind, and I don't think the Eagles are going down that route again.
No doubt. We'll see what ends up happening. Good stuff there with C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Brings me to my next topic, though, and it's right in that ballpark, John. And, Andrew McCuba is a name that I feel like has fallen under the radar. He was a late second-round pick last year. I thought he played solid in his games. I mean, I don't think he played great, but he was a rookie player. I thought he played solid for a rookie player. And now with Reed Blankenship as a free agent, John, now I think Reed might return. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe what we talked about in the opening segment with the lack of free agent talent pushes his market up or his value on the open market up. What do you make of Andrew McCuba, and how do you think the team perceives him moving into year number 2?
I think the team is very excited with Drew McCuba. I think he had a very good season for a rookie. Unfortunately ended the wrong way with the injury. I just get the tibia and fibia mixed up, whichever one he injured. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the knocks. It's like he's very undersized. Could he hold up being a safety at the NFL level? And he did get hurt a couple of times, not just a serious injury. So that factors into it. But everything the Eagles said about him as a player, he showed. And very comfortable in space, very athletic, natural coverage player. I think he would have gotten better and better. But again, can he hold up long term? I think if he can hold up his body, I think he's going to be a very good player. I think that's a very positive rookie season, to say the least, with the exception of the injury that shortened it. So it's a concern, but I think the Eagles aren't worried about one safety position. But they do need to make sure they have a certain style of safety next to him as a younger player. Maybe that changes as he gets more experience, but everything they said about him turned out to be true. In the coverage aspect, and he's very gifted when it comes to that part of it.
No doubt. No doubt. We're going to see what ends up happening the reason I asked that is because I wonder how much, you know, the development of Andrew McCuba might change their thought process on Reed Blankenship. Now, I know you need two safeties. I'm not saying they're, one crosses out the other, but similar to the corner where Howie's like, hey, corner's not a weakness. We got 2 out of 3 that are pretty damn good. I wonder if they feel, all right, we can maybe take it lighter at safety, or if they're not as confident in Drew, well, we better get Reed Blankenship signed because we're going to have too much flux at that position. Does that make sense? Or how do you think they see that from it? How do you think they see it from that perspective?
Well, I think a lot of it is the number, where it comes into. If somebody overpays, they're going to walk away. But in a lot of ways, I think having a little bit of a down year helps the Eagles from that perspective. And I think as long as he comes in near 9-10 million, I think they'll bring him back. And they'll, Howie will do his magic with the void years, and it won't be nearly that against the cap. Still a young player, very important player. Vic loves him. But, I think one of the stories is going to be just how much these guys get overpaid, the guys that hit the market because of the desperation, I'm sure there's a bunch of teams that need safeties, and they say, well, this is a guy who has been a Super Bowl winning safety who's smart, and, maybe that's worth more. A lot of, Isaiah Rodgers situations going on in this year's free agency for the Eagles. Like, the Eagles believe in bringing their guys back first, especially guys they developed. But they also realize they have so many good players that they've developed, they can't keep them all. And it's already happened with Milton and Josh last year. And I think it's going to happen.
If Reed walks, John, what do you think their plan is at safety?
Well, that's, I'm sure Howie has a contingency, and probably more draft related, I would think, than free agency related, because free agency.
I don't know if I like that. I mean,
free agency is weak, man.
And you're going to go from Reed, who I know not everybody loves Reed or thinks Reed is all that great, but I mean, Reed is the guy who's the quarterback of the secondary, if you will. Reed, Vic Fangio talks about that a lot. So you're going to get rid of him and put a rookie in there? Ugh.
Well, otherwise you're gonna put in a guy who's, looking at the free agent safeties here, a guy I think is a pretty good player, who got traded to Baltimore, Alohi Gilman. He's 29. Could you get him? Maybe. Cam Curl's probably the best safety on it. He's going to get paid, so you're not going to go in that direction. And not a lot, man. It's kind of ugly out there.
That's what I mean. Like, I feel
like Brisker, maybe you take a shot on him. He's 27. Brian Cook, you like Brian Cook? Their best case scenario would be getting Reed back.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm not even the biggest Reed guy in the world, but I think it makes sense.
Yeah, it's an ugly situation, and I know people will look at the top and Kyle Duggar's, names. He's 30 years old. Harrison Smith is 37. He might go to the Hall of Fame. Is
Marcus Epps an option to return?
Well, sure, but I mean, that's a very low ceiling option, I would say.
Yeah.
I would think you'd want to get a little bit better. I think Cam Curl's going to get paid, and then it's kind of, hit and miss. I'm sure they'll sign a veteran. They won't go with 2 young players, and they'll have that manufacturer. Sad we don't talk about Sidney Brown, but I can't imagine just that turning around. So yeah, I think, the top, and Jalen Phillips to me is the top priority by far. And then Reed would be number 2, to be honest. And a lot of that has to do. I just don't think they're going to be able to keep Nakobe. So that's all factored into it. But even Nakobe, I mean, I've seen, there's a little bit more hope, but I'm like, boy, I don't. That's such a difficult conversation because if the injuries are so concerning to others and he can't get 2 years, yeah, maybe you can get him back because he wants to be here. But then you're really stunning the development of Jahad Campbell. Do you really want to do that?
No.
Another year where he's just not playing?
Well, Nakobe Dean's what? How old is he? Not very old. 25.
No.
Do you look for life after Bond, or is it too early to think like that?
I think it's too early to think. I don't know. Because he wasn't as good as last year.
No, I don't think that's it at all. I thought he was fine. I thought he was great last year. I mean, he wasn't as good as historic 24, but anybody with who thinks logically knows that that's not happening again. I thought he was.
He was their best player on defense again.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I think you're right, or right there to it. But I mean, Father, you know what I mean, John? I think it's maybe the other stuff. Doesn't mean it's always right to pay a 30-year-old backer. It's already out of the Eagles, out of what the Eagles normally do when it comes to paying linebackers. I mean, you got, young players. Is it one of those things where Howie's got to have his eye on the future potentially?
Well, he's always thinking 3 years by 3-year increments. So he's always thinking about the future. The one thing about Zach is he is 29. He's going to be 30 in December, so late December. So he'll be 30 before the end of the season. So I get it, but he barely played in New Orleans. Like, there's not a lot of tread off that tire from a snap standpoint. So, he's not your typical 30-year-old who's a high-level player who's been playing 6 seasons at the level he's been playing out for the Eagles. Like, for whatever reason, New Orleans didn't see what they should have seen, and he didn't play that much, and he came here, and now he plays every play, basically. So while he is 30, it's not, he doesn't have the typical mileage of a 30-year-old player who's going to be 30. So I think that factors into it. And, he was in my opinion, their best defensive player again for the second straight season. Was he as good?
Yeah, good.
Was he as good as 2024? No. Let's see where PFF had him, because I know he's number 1. He's number 5. Yeah. I mean, that's a fifth best. You take the 5th best linebacker in football. Yeah, I'm not thinking
like
about
you always say, the NFL moves fast.
It moves very fast, but this is a guy who played at a super high level and then a super high level again. It's not moving fast for him right now.
No, it's not. Until it does, we don't got to worry. I think you're right. John, Spotrac puts the market value for Reed Blankenship at $7.2 million average annual. It'd be a 2-year, $14.38 million deal, so about 14.4. What do you think of that value? We've been kind of debating some of these values. We don't think they're all right on the number. What do you think of the Reed one?
Yeah, well, I think they'd sign that pretty quickly if they can get that deal. I think there's no doubt Reed Blankenship is going to be back if they can get that deal. I don't think they can get that deal, but we shall see.
Well, what do you think? What do you think Reed might get in the open market? Like, if he did walk because the money was too big, what do you think it'd look like? 2 years, 20?
Yeah, I think he hits the 10 million level.
Oof. That's gonna be too much for the Eagles. They're not going to 10. At least I don't think they are.
I don't know. I don't know. Now, if you get to 12, 13, yeah, then I think it's walk away number. But I don't know about 10. I don't know.
10 for Reed. You guys in the chat or not? Anybody in? What do you think on Reed, Blankenship, Daz, and Jason? What do you guys think, Reed, Blankenship? I just think it's interesting because of the rest of the position, John. Less about Reed. I mean, that's why I just brought it up.
Well, that's part of it.
We're talking about free agency's week.
That's a big part of it.
You want to put
free agency's week
with another rookie? I don't know about that.
Vic loves him. He's the communicator. Those are all reasons.
What's your walkaway number on Reed?
12.
Ooh, it's pretty high.
Yeah, I think those numbers are way under. I just do. I mean, I just do. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. I'm sure people will bring it up if I'm wrong. The cap's going from 279 to 303.5, maybe up to 305. 279 to 303.5.
It's a big jump.
Numbers should go up, not down. Now, I get it. People are going to look at he didn't have a great year. He didn't have a great year compared to what he was, which is true. But again, I think most of it was in coverage and most of it because he was being cautious. I think there's reasons behind it. And that's one of the things, that's one of the weaknesses when people say PFF. They generally do a good job. How I describe it is if they say somebody's playing well, they're playing well. And if they say if somebody's playing poorly, they're playing poorly. And in the case of Reed, all his negative numbers are basically all related to coverage. We're not related to run support, the little pass rush you do and Vic Fangio's, nothing else. Certainly not the communication aspect, which they have no idea. I mean, nor should they. It's basically all the coverage part of it. And I think nobody understands why that was better than the Eagles. And that's why you have these disconnects where people will say, well, people on the team will say, yeah, they don't exactly get what's going on here. And I think that's the case with Reed Blankenship. And I think that's also a selfless part of it that's also important. Because, this guy's a rookie, he was forced to play, not a lot, but he was number 9 of 88 safeties in the league. Then he became a starter year 2 from day 1 at training camp. We were all shocked. And he was 18 of 95. Then 2020, the Super Bowl, 29 of 98. Again, a little bit down, but 98, he's 20. That's pretty freaking good. And last year, 89th of 91, which was all related to coverage.
Man, why did he dropped off a cliff though last year in that regard?
Because the Eagles were asking him to play it cautious, and when you play it cautious, it looks like you're getting beat.
Yeah.
And to somebody who's not entrenched on what Vic is asking him to do,
it looks like it does.
Yeah. So I think the Eagles value him more than people realize.
Well, you could say that, but the deal hasn't been put in front of him yet. Well, maybe it has, and he hasn't taken it. But you think if they valued him that much, they would have gave him the deal last year at training camp.
Well, again, you're assuming they didn't. Two-way street, man.
Yeah, right.
They put a deal in front of Milton Williams coming into 2024. He didn't sign it. Right? He made the right decision.
You think the organization holds grudges for that?
No. I mean, they
not like real grudges, but like when negotiating time, they people try and win, John. That's life. That's people's negotiations, whatever it is. People try and win.
Well, also understand once it gets into the season, when the Eagles, and Howie has said this pretty consistently, when the Eagles get into a season and they think they're a Super Bowl contender and they They were. I mean, they were the reigning Super Bowl champions, so obviously they're a Super Bowl contender. They do not extend people in season. It is a organizational philosophy because they don't want, if you extend somebody and somebody else is in line for an extension, they start saying, why not me? Why not me? The natural, you also get calls from agents and what about my guy? What about, so their philosophy is no extensions in season. So once that passed, when they're a significant contender, obviously if you're not, it's not going to harm that much, but and rightly or wrongly, because it could have cost them certain players over the years, and Howie has often acknowledged that as well. But he's willing to take that hit because he thinks it's that important to keep the group together, and not single out people in those types of situations. So once you get past the season opener, and that's why I was focused on the week before. And if you remember, Reed changed agents the week before.
Yeah.
We're very close to it.
That's right.
You thought there was some.
Is it David Mulligana? Is it that agency?
I forget.
Let me look.
But
Baker and Tony Bonagora from Exclusive Sports Group. So it's listed here on Exposure.
No, I think he changed from those guys.
Oh, is that who he changed from?
Yeah,
it's listed on Spot Track still.
But anyway, I'll look it up as we go along. But that's their organizational philosophy. And it's pretty clear that Reed was betting on himself, and it probably didn't work, not like Milton, to say the least. But I do think the Eagles value him more than people who are gonna, and that's the nature of being an undrafted free agent. You're always an undrafted, like nobody lets that die. Well, he's an undrafted free agent, no matter how well they play. I got the really joy to cover John Randall in his career. I mean, the guy's in the Hall of Fame. People are, he's an undrafted free agent. Yeah, it's crazy, but it is what it is, and that's part of it as well. So, I mean, you can't presume. Like, I think the presumption is, well, they would have got a deal done. Like, it's a two-way street.
Yeah, right.
And nobody proved that more than Milton last year, because the Eagles were trying to sign Milton.
Not every. I will remind the players though. Not every gamble will end like Milton Williams just did. Okay, so we'll see what ends up happening with that. Going to be interesting to find out. I want to welcome and thank everybody for being here today. All right, we got a great Monday show. The combine is kicking off. A good few segments there that we had at the open, and now we go to the Fritz and Bianculli guest line. How about that? Big shout out to Fritz and Bianculli. You guys see him on your screen. Live from the Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm studios. They are the official partner of Birds 365, and they're the partner of the guest line. Let's go to our guest line right now. We got the legendary, the great, the one and only Chris Franklin set to join us right here on Birds 365. He joins us now. You can follow him at C Franklin News and read all his work at NJ.com. Chris, it's great to see you on a Monday morning, my friend. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine, guys. This is Combine Week. Next step to the new season coming up. So I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
Would be better without the 18 inches of snow outside my window, Chris, but it is something. You got to get through it. We'll get through it. But if anybody wants to drop some humanitarian aid, I'm up for it, because I'm not going to be able to get any milk or eggs over the next few hours. Athletes first. I don't know when you popped on. I was trying to look. Reed Blankenship changed agents, and he went with athletes first. before the start of last season, when we thought maybe he's a guy the Eagles would try to extend. Didn't happen. Didn't have the best season. Now it's one of those questions. So we'll start it there with you as we head towards the combine, Chris. You got to think about free agency first, and that's where the foundational stuff gets done in this league. It's sort of a convention with the agents and executives. That's a tough one, Reed Blankenship. You don't have a lot of depth at safety. Didn't have a great year. Got to have a walk-away number. Where are you with Reed Blankenship, Chris Franklin?
I think we're at the point where no matter what, he's going to test the market. I think there, because and this is going to be the best week coming up with all the rumors, because the agents have to be certified there and all that. They have their meeting, blah, 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 blah. So I wouldn't be surprised if, randomly walking down the hall or at the JW Marriott, they go, you see Reed's agents go, hey, Howie, what's going on? Hey, how you doing? And there's something done behind the scenes. But the way that it's set up, and I know free agency is first, the draft to me is also another area where you look and go, okay, there's some depth there. So the Eagles have leverage in that end. But if you want somebody, especially Vic, and this is why I love Vic Fangio, because he's open and honest about this stuff, and how much that he wants him back there. That's where you think like the agent go like, all right, we know this here. I think if something eventually, he's one of the guys. He is one of the guys, at least I think, that something gets done. Probably, I wouldn't be surprised if more of a short term in, maybe like a 2 years with that. But it'll look like a 4 or 5 years, like 4 or 5 years. Yeah, for Reed Blankenship. When you look at the contract, it might be something like 2. He's a guy I think that could come back, and whatever be done, if they're looking to a win now thing, which I think they should be because this window is open still. I think he's a guy that comes back and you utilize that short term viability, and if it doesn't work out after the 2 years and you're fresh out, you still draft a safety this year or the following year, and you move on from there.
What's your walkaway number on Reed? You got one, Chris? What do you think the Eagles should be, the walkaway number? Just to give you some context, Spotrac has the market value at 7.2, but I think they've been a little low, Chris. I think that's a little low.
They're lowballing everybody over.
Yeah, they are. They have Jalen Phillips 17, so I'm not buying their numbers that much, but I'm just giving it to you for the sake of context.
I think it's something around 9-10, and that's it, because once again, that veteran thing, the veteran leadership thing, and also just the going rate of veteran safeties now that play that center field role. I think that's with looking at that in production, and then they're going to sell, and other teams are looking for services like that. They're going to sell. Well, he's a Super Bowl champion, and he knows how to win and all that stuff. So somebody's going to throw a number out.
Somebody will buy into that.
Yeah,
sure. Super Bowl winning safety, Chris Franklin.
Yep. That buys you an extra $1 million somehow, somewhere, every time.
It does, and maybe it should. I mean, maybe it should, because a million's a million. But we're going to talk about multiple millions before we get to the draft and the combine with Jalen Phillips. Now, there's a guy who I think could cash in with his age, hitting free agency. Very rarely do you have a player like that at that age hit free agency in the open market. Again, we've seen some crazy low numbers from certain places, 18 million. I think it's 18 million. The Eagles run to get that thing done. I think it's going way over 20 million. Where are you with Jalen Phillips? And if you don't get Jalen Phillips back, doesn't that all of a sudden turn edge rusher into a big, big, big need again?
And I think they're going to get that big, big need, because there's the fact that when you hear all these guys like Bradley Chubb and Max Crosby and all that stuff, and you look at all the needs for all the different teams, it's about legit 20, 22 teams that really need an edge rusher. You can always say every team could always go, oh, I need an edge rusher because of the pass rush thing. No, there's legit that many teams that could use like a top tier, like a number one type on that. And so I think that's the point where I think it's going to price the Eagles out the market. I wouldn't be surprised if, like I say, a team like the Titans with all that cap space, like something like 100 million or 90. The Titans, even down a little bit down south, like the Commanders, they have a lot of cap space too, and they need to revamp that defense in the worst possible way. Not only just to get defense better, but probably to keep that seat cool under Dan Quinn. That's another place I look like that could throw that money around. So it's going to be the point where I think we're talking about, wow, this is a neat area of need right now. And when you get to that point now, you're looking around and it's like, it ain't, unless you do a trade with some of those picks, and even then it may not be that, to get a veteran guy in here that's on like a cost control thing that you know what you're going to get and that can have an impact. I think we're going to be talking this until April, and then you're hoping something happens during the draft.
Ooh, how do you think the third round pick factors into it, and the fact that the Eagles already gave up a third round pick to get Jalen Phillips? Do you think that revision turns into, well, what are we going to do if we want to go out on the trade market to get a Max Crosby, just for an example? Then you got to pay more money, and you got to pay more draft capital to bring in a player like that. Do you think that factors into how he's thinking?
I think, in fact, like, if depending on the production of the player, and you look at Jalen Phillips and you're like, yeah, he was productive during his time here. I think Max Crosby is just in a different tier, a higher tier when it comes to that. That's not a slight to Jalen Phillips. It's not, and that's definitely not a slight against Jalen Phillips. It's just like there's certain guys like Parsons, Crosby, they're just that top echelon that I think that changes the calculus a little bit in what they do in terms of trying to get guys. So when looking at that, I think maybe the whole Myles Garrett thing too, his name's always come up because the Eagles just talk about the Eagles stuff. I don't think any of those are happening. I think Max Crosby stays in Raiders. I think it's a lot more talk. I think Crosby stays with the Raiders. I wouldn't be surprised if Garrett still stays with the Browns, what have you. But I
saw this weekend the Raiders are looking for a Micah Parsons type deal. I'm like, huh? Yeah, again, a Micah Parsons type deal for Max Crosby, but hey, maybe that's what they think. I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to try that, and no matter what deal, they're going to try. They're going to say, "Oh, we want 2 firsts." I can see it right now. We want 2 firsts for Max Crosby. Not happening. Well, can you give us a first, please? Nah. Well, we'll think about it. Well, right. Okay, we'll be fine with a second. We'll just be fine with a second. All right, get that. Like something that would be perfft for everybody.
Oh,
I just don't know.
Negotiation. If they go from 2 firsts to a second,
they would be pissed. That's unless Max Crosby comes out not through behind the scenes with the agents. We're going like, well, he may want to leave. Wink, wink. Nudge of restructure again, or it goes, all right, yeah, no. Unless he flat out goes on one of these shows, or he puts something like the cryptic. Like I don't know, like a wings behind him, like leaving out, flying away somewhere else, what have you. Then I think he's coming. I think he goes back to like that. He has to force his way out, and I think he has to go out publicly and say, "I no longer want to be a Raider," and I don't think he's going to do that.
Speaking of force their way out, where are you on the AJ Brown scale? I have a 50-50 scale, so I've been going back and forth. 52-48, he's staying. 52-48, he's going. I've now moved it to 53-47, he's going. Chris Franklin, where are you with AJ Brown? Do you think everything is copacetic in this little sort of tour and saying, everybody's excited, everybody's on the right, or that's, hey, look, we'll move you, but you got to play ball. Because if not, we're not going to get value. And then you know how he's like a dog with a bone. He's not giving people up, especially good players. So he needs value in return. Where are you with AJ Brown and if he's going to be a Philadelphia Eagle in September?
I'm at the 75-80% he's going to be an Eagle. I still think that. Wow. I still thought because I like, and I'm not a spokesperson for AJ Brown. I'm not in his mind. But he's one of those. He's just one of those guys when he's not going away with the offense and stuff like that. It's for not so much like, you sort of wish sometimes like that. I want the ball. If any receiver didn't want the ball, then you say that. I think it was more frustration. Like, why am I running a hitch here? Why am I running a hitch here? Oh no! What do you know? It's 3rd down. We're running a hitch here. Oh, I know. I wake up and go to brush my teeth. I get a call from Capitola. Run a hitch. Like,
by the way,
I think it was one of the things.
Did you see Jason Kelce trolling people with some Sean Mannion film? And the first play he showed was a hitch route.
That was good.
That was awesome. That was awesome. That was
I didn't see that now. But I look at it as one of those things. Like, I think it's frustration. I think he still deep down kind of wants to be here. I think he wanted a different situation, different schematically to happen as well too. I know everybody's saying like, well, you look after June 1st, you can trade him, and it's a lot less and all that stuff. I think this is one. I think he's at the point now where he's going to give it a shot to see these changes that have been made. And I think when we look up at that opening game, whoever the Eagles are playing that week, we'll see him lined up on week 1. And yeah, it's to me, it almost in a way. It's almost like the Allen Iverson thing. It's not to the point where I think he and Nick are like can't get along or whatever. They're two passionate people that, when you throw those two things together, then you get that spark sometimes. But it reminds me of the Allen Iverson thing where you have that where he was almost traded to the Pistons that year, and everybody's talking about, oh, he's almost gone to the Sixers. And the next thing you know, you see what they did in 2001, and granted, they didn't win the Super Bowl, but you saw that run they made. So I think when all said and done, you'll see that thing like, hey, remember the time A.J. Brown talks were all he was traded, blah, 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 again? I think it'll be something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they end up doing. Chris, we just mentioned it with Reed Blankenship, but quite a bit of free agents, and the free agency class isn't all that good. Jalen Phillips is the headliner for the Eagles, maybe not only for the Eagles. He's one of the top free agents out there. What's your thought on Jalen Phillips? Should the Eagles sign him? What should the walkaway number be on Jalen Phillips, if there is one, or are you no holds barred, bring him back? Where are you on the Jalen Phillips, off season with him returning to the Eagles or potentially not returning to the Eagles?
I think I'd run if they can get something to work done. That's something around the 25-ish range.
Yeah,
I'm at that point where I'm
cashing in, man. Cashing in.
Here's the problem, though.
JP.
You look at his age. You got the injury concerns too. Like I know you got the injury concerns. Okay, that's valid. That's warrant. I just look at the fact that teams are going to say we need an edge rusher. He's young enough. He's still relatively young, and so many teams need an edge rusher that tampering period, those first few days, it's going to me. It feels like it's going to be like the Milton Williams thing. Like, oh, he's going this one. Oh, he's going this one. Yeah, this one. And next thing you know, like,
right, yeah.
And you're looking like, how did he get like 34, 35? Like, and by then it's like, well, we got the comp pick for next year. Hey, okay, you got that. But it's if they can get something long term that can maybe you work out with the base and go, listen, and we know how well this organization, like how they do the contract stuff like that. Like, hey, listen, it may not be as big of a bump that first year sign bonus, but we'll look at this one here. We'll form it so that it won't just like cut you after 2 or 3 years, and you still get a decent amount of guaranteed money, what have you. It's going to take some creativity. I think they're not going to use a franchise tag, in my opinion. They're not going to use a transition tag because that thing, I don't know why they just get rid of that. It's still there somehow.
Well, the league might pay him $25 million, Chris, but should the Eagles?
Out of desperation, yeah. Because I know you got Miller Smith and Alex Hunt. This team does well when you have 4 legitimate edge rushing threats. And he was your most productive edge rusher through that 8-9 games. He was 8-9 games. He was here. He was your most productive guy. And you look at just overall, when you have that productive guy on the edge on this team with Jalen Carter, and if you have Jordan Davis continues to play the way that he has, you look at you got those odd man fronts or you get a rush. This team is really tough to stop. And oh yeah, we could blitz one of the linebackers up the middle, up the B gap, with the matter if it's John Campbell or Zach Paul. It just creates so many difference with the issues with the protections and stuff for other teams to try to figure out, okay, how do we slide the line? This needs to get. It's almost the same thing like we talked about when we had Hassan Reddick here and we were talking about this. He's the type of guy that you need in this defense to really make it effective for Vic and to lessen off some of those things. For me, I know it's not. I know we haven't talked about anything like this for it. I'm looking at the Denzel Ward thing a little bit more because if he gets released, you add him to the second thing. You mean to tell me if you have competent edge rushing ability up front from that side, and now all of a sudden you tell your secondary guys, hey, just cover for 4 seconds. Now all of a sudden you look at this defensive line a whole lot different, and this team is 2024-ish type defensively with the level, all 3 levels being as productive as they could. So yeah, you need to have them. You gotta.
Here's my problem with Denzel Ward. That's an interesting name. Obviously, very good player. Still only 28 years old. And I don't know where he is career-wise. I haven't looked at how well he played for Cleveland. Played a lot of football. Even though he's only 28, he's been playing since 2018. So there's some tread off the tire. But I would think, he's a 5-time Pro Bowl player. I would think he's going to get some money. And how do you bring in Denzel Ward as a number 2 corner when you got 2 corners who are, on their cost-effective deals, and this guy's making $12 million? Let's just throw $12 million out there. And all of a sudden, Quinion and Cooper are sitting there. Now, they can't even be extended, but still, that's political. That's tough from a political aspect, Chris.
That's the part I was going to go to, because Ward's a guy I go to the 2 years, because you got to get those extensions, and they're going to get a lot of money. Even with Coop, even though he's a nickel corner, he's going to get outside corner money because he's just that effective. I think that this is why I think overall, again, almost similar to what I was saying about the Commanders, Dan Quinn. I think this is a time when you got a couple years left for Sirianni here and his defense, and even with Vic having him at the helm, because we hear the retirement things here and there. You need to take advantage of this window, and we all know how general managers thinking like those 3-year increments. You're looking at, okay, how long can I get this effective? That's the type of move where you look and you add it in there. That just enhances your 3-year window. And while you have some of your guys still playing at the prime, still having this everything else like that. So I look at that as like, you know what? He might be making more now. Those guys know already. I mean, especially the way Quinion's of the awards he got this year, he knows he's going to get paid big time. And even with the option and what have you and stuff have you, he's going to get paid as a top 5 corner. So you can lie it. You can pacify that by knowing that, hey, we can't do anything right now. League tells us now, you're a big part of this defense coming up. And the caps keep increasing, because that's another thing I think too, that you can, if you're trying to make some of these deals more, that you can be a little bit more aggressive now. If the NFL decides to nuke that their media deals, which they have every right they can, I think next year, you can get more money. You're going to get more money from the NBCs, the Netflixes. You're going to get YouTube trying to come in a little bit more.
Oh, they're going to.
That salary cap will keep going and going and going. You saw the jump this year. It's going to happen again. So you see this now, and you're like, okay, maybe we can be a little bit more aggressive now, knowing that we got more salary cap money coming in the next few years because of these new deals. So it's walking a fine line, and this is where it's good to have intel in the front office, in the NFL front office, going like, hey, what's going on here? Like, you hear something? Okay. You go from there.
Chris, another fine line that we're walking this offseason is the tight end position. I mean, there's nobody. I'm looking around. Is there a tight end in Philly right now? I mean, Cam Latu, you got EJ Jenkins, you got a couple guys out there, but who's out there? How many catches do they have combined? So my question for you, Chris, is how do you view that position if you're the Eagles right now from the Chris Franklin lens? I mean, you got Goddard, who's over 30 and a free agent. They took a pay cut last year to come back. Does Goddard hold that against him? Does he want to go to the open market? Maybe. Do you pay Goddard? And if you don't pay Goddard, I mean, what's the solution? You don't need just one. I mean, especially with this new offense, right? The Sean Mannion on. You're going to need tight ends. How do you see the tight end position, where it stands right now, and what do you think the best way moving forward is for the Philadelphia Eagles?
I think Goddard would be nice. He might be too expensive, and there's also thing that's another position. I'm not for him. I'm not going to throw too much money at him, because the same things we talk about every time we comes Goddard, injury concerns. You don't know his availability. He's also another year older. Even though he has a touchdown production that he had this year, and you're hoping that, and I think one of those teams that are out there, like, you're under 1 year that's going to like, oh, look at how many touchdowns he had. Here's a big contract. He's still an effective tight end. The way I would probably go, I get a guy like, say, John Fitzpatrick out of Green Bay. I know he's coming off his Achilles or whatever. He's your blocking guy. He knows the system. You bring him in. That takes one. You draft a tight end, either the second or the third round. I think that's the way. I'm not using a first round pick on a tight end in this draft. I think you need to address the offensive line, given the Lane Johnson thinking about
Max
retiring the
Clary.
next couple of years.
That's everybody loves him.
That's
He's
the one.
Sam
Max
Laporta.
Clare. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I heard it.
Claire?
Yep. The Daniel Jeremiah. Yep. That was the
Yeah.
one. That is so.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a guy like that who you think about it in the way you look at the film and then you look at everything else. It's almost like Dallas Goedert again. I think he's a really good receiving tight end. He runs. I like the way he runs those seam routes and those crossing patterns, which are vital in that offense, in the Shanahan offense. I like the way he does that. So now you have Claire. He can be. You don't need to thrust upon him too much upon him, because at least you know, especially when it comes to the blocking game. Like you just don't passing wise. I feel like he could be good enough. You can plug him in, and if they don't sign Goddard, plug him in. You got that. This offense uses a lot of 2 tight end sets anyway. Like I'd probably say like a third of the snaps are like 2 tight end sets anyway. Like when you look at if you look at the Shanahan tree, the Shanahan scheme. So now you have Fitzpatrick that can, as Claire develops or whatever tight end they draft develops a little bit more in his blocking way. At least you know you have Fitzpatrick. If you got a guy like that who's a really good blocking tight end for the Packers, at least he'd be your second guy. You can leave him in the block, let Claire run his routes and do his thing, and allow the tight ends coach to work with him more, his blocking on more. Then you can hopefully get a little bit better that way too. But I'd draft a guy day 2, sign a veteran tight end who's got better blocking prowess. Because also one thing, when you look at the Shanahan thing, they need that outside zone run. They need somebody to hold the edge. And we saw that way that the tight ends did last year. It was issue. So that would be my plan, especially if Goddard comes back and say like a very team friendly deal, then I'll bring him back. And I just don't know if he's going to get. I think he's going to get a nice size contract. So it might be the time for him to move on if somebody pays him a lot of money.
Yeah, that's tough because he's 31. So I don't know how many people are going to give him big money, but he's also got to feel bad producing 13 touchdowns for the team that made him take a $4 million pay cut. So that's a difficult one. That maybe the most difficult one for me personally is Nakobe Dean, only because you couldn't ask for more on or off the field. Dude is awesome. Everything about him. But I don't see how you keep him, Chris. You can't go another year with Jahad Campbell sitting on the bench. You can't. And I have good depth. Trott's there for depth and Smile Munden. And you have the injury concerns with Nakobe, which are real. There any way they can keep Nakobe Dean, and would that be a poor decision? Because you are, if he's here and he's at Vick's disposal, he's playing. Period. Vick loves him, and you're keeping Jahad Campbell for 2 of his 4 years. He played 6 games, and he was great, by the way, in the first 6-7 games of the season. Do you just rip the Band-Aid off because we got to get Jahad Campbell on the field?
See, this team didn't have as many needs as it does, and need to allocate at certain positions, like we talked about before, edge rusher. I'd seriously think about it. I just don't know. If you can fit them in, and you can. In my mind, I'm thinking like, okay, well, I know you have that legitimately will be wasting at least 2 years of Jahad Campbell's career. I know I got the 5th-year option in my back pocket if I need to use it. It's there, so I can at least know I got 3 more years of control after that. So I'm like, it's to the point. I just don't know there's any room to go and do that, because, like you mentioned, I think Jeremiah Trotter is a really good linebacker, and the time he spent there, you see him increasing. So you just don't want to give that away. I mean, he's a good depth piece there, and then I know Smile Mondi and stuff like that. But is your 4th linebacker? Yeah, I just think it's time. I think they knew going into this year this probably was going to be the last, no matter what. The thing I worry about is, and it's like, it's one of those things I think a lot of people see, even in their workplace, whatever, when you got the people looking at the spreadsheet and they go, that's a big number. We need just to move away and move, or that could be a big number or a bigger number. You move away, you don't know the other value that he brings, not necessarily to the field, when it comes to the leadership role, when it comes to the intangibles, when it comes to the reading, that all that stuff. So that's the part that gives me pause. I'm like, you're losing something there in terms of that leadership and that believability off the thing. But unfortunately, I think it might be time where you just don't have the assets to move on from him, and you have to. Unfortunately, you hope Christian Parker and the Cowboys don't sign him because I think that's a legit.
I'll tell you where, and they have no money. I think they're $40 million over the cap. But if Nakobe Dean goes with Brian Flores, look out,
Oh yeah,
because
He's
he
going
turned
to Dallas with Christian Parker is where I think he's going.
he turned Eric Wilson into a player, blitzing. And Nakobe Dean, I think, was the best blitzer in football from the second level last year. And he didn't get to do it here.
That's
and he won't get to do it with Christian Parker. That's my point.
I know.
He'll get to do it.
If he goes to Flores, that would be a good fit. You're right.
But they have no money. But boy, I would love to see it because he is a hell of a player. And I think if you let him do more of what he can do, I think, the ceiling is tremendously high, but I don't know how the Eagles could keep him. And hopefully, Jihad Campbell plays as well as he did those first 7 games. And I think then you're fine. I mean, then you're not worried about anything other than losing a good player, which you never like to do. But that's where the draft comes into it. Now, Chris, the combine will get a lot of hype. And as we mentioned, the most important things of the combine are the things you don't see on television. That's the health checks and all the behind the scenes stuff, as we talked about with agents and executives laying the foundation for deals in free agency. But when you do look at the draft, and a lot of it obviously depends on what they do with AJ. Do they get Jalen Phillips? That's 1A and 1B to me. The Eagles have to make those decisions, and that shifts it. But let's say AJ's back because you think he's going to be back, and they get Jalen Phillips back. If that's the case, you take wide receiver and edge rusher out of the equation. Where you leaning towards first round, 23rd pick overall? If you got a player, give me a player, but position first and then player second if you got one.
I think you definitely have to go offensive line. It is boring. It's the whole eat your vegetables.
Everybody hates it, but I agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you.
And the guy I'm really growing on, and I don't want to butcher his name, so I'm just going to say Max. He's the kid out of Arizona State. He's the offensive tackle. I like him because he's already a right tackle to begin with. I don't like I think you can draft guys that play left or right. I think it takes a lot of time in terms of trying to play from one side to another. The thing with him is he can not only play right tackle, he can play left tackle. A little bit bigger guy, which I know goes against the grain about the whole system schematic things, but he can move and he's nasty. I like his nastiness. That when you see him get into that pass set, you see that whole forceful thing. I like that out of him when it comes. The thing is, he's still kind of raw too, and the reason why I think this will be a good fit is if you draft him, you got Lane for at least minimum one more year. You let him sit, you let him learn. I don't think he's the type of guy. I know they're going to cross train because they do this with all their backups. I don't think he's the type of guy you could plug in right away to be a guard or what have you. But I would have him there to sit back and learn. And then eventually, when he comes in there, say if there's an injury to Mailata, he can go to the left side easy, but primarily he's going to play the right side. And then if Lane decides after this year, hey, you know what, I'm done, you can just plug him in. He has a year, he learned from him, and you move on from there. But I think that's a guy, that's the guy I would go to. But I think overall position, a right tackle, just not even right tackle, an offensive lineman would be the way I would go in this draft. You just need to. The good thing is there's that around there.
I'm going the same way, and I'm going to piss people off even more if I throw the name Blake Miller out. What says Chris Franklin?
That was it was going back and forth with him. I just look at the more.
He's athletic.
To me,
if you're going to ask guys to reach block in this wide zone stretch scheme, Blake Miller's your guy. That's my opinion.
He's up there. Like if he's on the board, for me, if Max was gone, I think he'd still be on the board. Both of them still be on the board by then. I said we'll lean Max more a little bit more because I know he has to reach block and them too. you can teach. The good thing is if they do go around, you can teach run blocking. I have questions about his run blocking a little bit more out there in space. I think he's a really good pass blocker. I like that, which is important, especially to throw the ball around. I wonder if you're going to run that a little bit more. I still see some things and some elements of him where he needs to refine some stuff, and that's where coaching can come in and change that. So I like that. But overall, I think
Chris Cooper, baby. Chris Cooper.
Now I'm using only now for me. I'm only using my first round pick on that on one of those two. If I'm going offensive line, I'm sorry. I'm not going. I've seen some things going. The Eagles going tight end. I don't get that whatsoever. And I've seen the Avion Cooper defensive back.
Avion Terrell.
Yeah,
Terrell. Yeah, I keep going Avion Cooper. I don't know why do I was writing the other day. I almost put it in a publisher. I was like, wait, no.
Yeah.
He's another guy. I'm like,
you can't take a corner CB2 at 23 over. Come on, people.
Nah,
only if it's best. If they, I know they won't do that, but I think only if it's a best player available type deal.
Yeah.
And the other, and going back to offensive
but
line,
I think they trade down if that's the situation. I think they trade down. I think they got to start repopulating this offense now. It's been defense.
Yeah. The one thing I will say though, I'm really looking at what they do with their own third round pick, because I know they got they're going to get the compensatory one from Milton Williams. I wouldn't be surprised if they either trade that one to get a higher asset like a 2 next year, which we know that draft's going to be even deeper than this year, or do you trade that to get to fill a role like an offensive lineman, like a interior offensive lineman, or if you're looking for like a veteran player, a veteran edge rusher that somehow you hear is available, that's a trade. That's the pick I'm really looking at to say, you know what, the Eagles want to do something here to fill a thing. So I'd watch that their first third round pick in this year's draft. It could be shipped, and I think it's a pretty valuable pick. And honestly, I just don't think they'll trade up in this draft because there's not that many guys you can say, hey, you know what, I feel really excited to trade up in this draft, and you're like, it's one of those drafts where like you're not.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Where do you think they draft a quarterback? Think they draft a quarterback? Tanner McKee's going into the last year of his deal. They always like to draft a quarterback. Do they look for some value? I don't think they go the Jalen Hurts route where they try and get their backup in the second or third round, but maybe they do. Where do you think they draft a quarterback, Chris?
I think it's either the 7th round or we're talking free agent quarterback. Like he went to some Division III something like that. You're like,
you're undrafted guy, something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Develop, see if you get somebody there. And I think we've talked so much about this quarterback draft where it's so light, and you look at it too. They're not getting Diego Pavia or anybody like that because that will come with this whole set of other things that go along with that. But I just think it's one of those things where you just get somebody, you see you see a good talent. Like maybe he reads the defense as well, and he's got a decent arm. Maybe we can develop something here. Can be a backup. I just don't. This draft to me, this draft is just
weak.
It's
weak.
Bad, bad at quarterback right now. So why not just save the asset, fill another role that you can have offensive line. Maybe you find a tight end who can receive, who can catch the ball well, who's shown he can learn how to block, but maybe just lose that. Somebody with a good trait that you can build upon that can help out with this offense. Doesn't have to be a starter, but something a good trait that you can use, and that's what you're using that back half of that draft to do that. But I'm not drafting a quarterback.
I think Howie always says he's got talent in his body. That's what you're looking for. Somebody who's got talent in his body. At C. Franklin News has got plenty of talent in his body. See the segue there, Chris?
I like it. Thank you. Appreciate it.
NJ.com. Make sure you read him. Does a tremendous job. I have a trending story if you have to do trending stuff. No sucks. Trending. That's my trending story. It's awful. I guess I'll end it with Sean Mannion. Boy, 33-year-old guy was a entry-level assistant, had a position room for 1 year, and now he's running the Philadelphia Eagles offense. Boy, I think about that every once in a while. Coming off of last year where the whole narrative was, well, Kevin Petula is a first-time play caller. and you're going down that route again, it's very, very interesting. I think that's going to be the story of the year. Bottom line, what Sean Mannion looks like. Either he's a natural, either he's Roy Hobbs, or you're going to have some growing pains. Are the Eagles the type of team that can afford growing pains, Chris Franklin?
Not right now. Not right
That's
now.
what I
Like,
think.
now, I say that not right now, and I mean, like, as a point where you're looking at week 8, you're like, why is this offense not moving? If it's that, then you just have to. Yeah, I think it's one of the things where you might just have to snatch play calling, especially if you're finding yourself in a dogfight division. But this offense, we won't see this real offense, how well it could be or anything else, I think, until week 6 anyway. Well, or week 4, between week 4 and week 6, because I think there's going to be some learning curves. It's a whole new terminology for a lot of these guys. And they're being asked to do certain things differently, depending on the position, what have you. So it's going to be that learning curve. You look at the OTAs. This is going to we won't. I don't think we'll see the full offense of what he's able to do and what this can do in week 1, because they're going to guard some stuff behind that. They're not going to show everything, but I look at this like, if by, like, say, week 8, week 9, this offense is having some issues, then I think all options are on the table in terms of that. If it's stagnant, if it's what happened last year or worse, then you just got you can't. I think you can afford it, because you can't. There's too many good players, and we talked about windows earlier. That window, you can't fool around and mess with that. Personally, I think from here, and I know this is coming from one of his own, like, one of the players he's going to coach, and everybody says around this time he's a great guy. So when you hear when Saquon, he did that interview with the insiders on the NFL Network,
Yeah, we were
he's
talking
already
about
saying he's very creative already. I'm like, that's different. The fact that little thing is like, oh, really? All right. So that, and
well, you know what
and,
I told Zander, what I love about that interview is that that was that he's very excited, and he said in the same interview, because I think it was Judy Batista who good job by her, she pressed him. Well, what do you like about and he said, well, we haven't talked X's and O's yet. Saquon's just a pro, man. And by the way, that you don't talk X's and O's this time of year. You can't. It's collectively bargained. So, I mean, he's just a pro, and he's doing the right things, and he's saying, yeah, I'm excited. It's new, but yeah, none of the players know what's going to happen offensively yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe, I don't know, framework of stuff. Like, we're not talking about this, right? No, we're not. Wink.
No. Well, yeah, you can wink it, but
nah,
he did say in the same interview, yeah, we haven't talked X's and O's.
Yeah, and that was a fun thing. Like, when he started that out, I was like, "Well, this is going to be nothing." Because he started out, it's like, "Oh, this is going to be nothing." He started out like, "Oh, you're talking to us, okay, this is what you mean." And then he started going, "Yeah, it's very creative, and what we can do." I'm like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, "Please tell more, please tell more, please." Oh, I shut it down. But yeah, the boot. I can see, like, the bootlegs with him still keeping some of the elements, but the whole running toward the outside and the foot plant, and go. I think there's some route concepts that would be nice. And I think if you go anything off of what you look at McVay, Shanahan stuff, and you superimpose what Devontae Smith and AJ Brown could do in this offense. Yeah.
I love Kelsey hitch route number 1. First play, hitch route.
They roll, and I don't want anybody to get worried. They will run a hitch. And that's okay if you do it here and there.
Everybody runs hitches in the NFL. Yeah. Every team runs hitches. So people shouldn't be shocked when they see a hitch. But Chris Franklin, thanks, bud. Enjoy the snow removal.
Yeah, Chris, we appreciate it, man. Make sure you guys follow him at C. Franklin News. Chris, we appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you again soon. We'll see what the Eagles do with all these things that we talked about today. Thank you, man.
Thank you, guys, and thank you, everybody out there. Have a good one now.
Yeah,
see you, bud.
There's Chris Franklin joining us right here on Birds 365. Appreciate Chris joining the show today. Good show today, John, as the NFL Combine is set to kick off this week. We will see what the Birds are up to and, what kind of news, John. I'm sensing that we're going to hear a lot of the AJ talk is ramping up and all of these different things, John. I think that's an inevitable part of this offseason, whether the Eagles are keeping them or not.
Yeah, a lot of stuff's going to come out this week. Starting tomorrow morning, be by your computer because things will start to come to fruition. But we can't talk about that until tomorrow. So we'll have plenty to talk about on tomorrow's show. And yeah, I mean, this is really the kickoff, not the start of the new league year, which we did clarify, March 11th. But, this is really the start of the new league year from the standpoint of teams getting their plans together and laying the foundation.
No doubt. Johnny Mac, good show today, brother. Your final thoughts as we have Combine. You just teased some Tuesday morning news. I think people will be excited about that, so we'll see what happens there. Your final thoughts here on a Monday morning edition, Johnny Mac, of Birds 365. It's Combine week, baby.
Yeah, Combine week. Get excited. Small hands, small arms, 4.4s. Get excited, baby.
Yeah, short reach, all that crap is coming. All right, John. Good show, my friend. I will talk to you tomorrow. A good episode today. From the great Birds 365, brought to you by Fritz and Bianculli. Johnny Mac, thank you, brother. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks everybody.
All right, thanks, Jim Mac. There's Johnny Mac. John McMullen joining us right here on Birds 365. A great show today. All right, I just mentioned them. A big shout out to our great partners at Fritz and Bianculli. You guys often see their logo on the screen. You can see it there at the bottom. This is obviously our 2-box graphic, but shout out to Fritz and Bianculli. He's been with us now for well over a year of support for this show. So big thanks to Fritz and Bianculli. Brian Fritz is one of the best in Philly. I'm telling you guys. There's a lot of lawyers. There's a lot of snaky lawyers. There's a lot of people who are, maybe not as untrustworthy as you'd like them to be. Brian Fritz is not that guy. He is as real as it gets, a true and honest dude. So I'm a big fan of Brian Fritz, and we appreciate him for sponsoring the program. What's going on to the great people of JAKIB Nation? I have a potential opportunity for the great people of JAKIB Nation that we will talk about a little bit today. All right, we'll do that. We'll kick off some Combine Week conversation. All right, here on Birds 365 on JAKIB Sports, which we will do. All right, I'm going to be out of the studio this week, Wednesday after my morning show, and Thursday, Friday. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. Shows should all remain. Nothing should change for the viewership. Just letting you guys know where I will be out of the house. Guys, how about the Olympic Games? How about USA hockey? I mean, I was ecstatic yesterday when Jack Hughes netted that overtime goal. I haven't jumped up for a sports event like that in a long time, man. All right, I haven't jumped up. Like, I legitimately jumped from the couch when I saw that happen. And the funniest part is, not to toot I'm like, this is a goal. When I saw, because 3-on-3, anybody who's played hockey knows 3-on-3 is dangerous. Okay. 3-on-3 is dangerous for goaltenders. It's dangerous for defensive hockey. And when you have great players, in fact, I didn't love the fact that the game was going to overtime for the United States, because when you have, not that the U.S. doesn't have great players, they obviously have great players, but when you look at some of the players on that Canadian hockey team, Macklin Celebrini, they have Connor McDavid, they have Cale Makar, they have some unbelievable open ice hockey players, skaters, people who, when you get them in space, you're not stopping them. And you could see that kind of happening early in the overtime where they were getting pressure. McDavid was making pressure early. Sidney Crosby, obviously, good point. Kim, he didn't play yesterday, but Sid has obviously been around for a long time. I didn't love the setup in overtime because I'm like, boy, when you got great players like that, those great players take advantage of the open ice in 3-on-3 hockey, do or die, sudden death. So, but the second the U.S. had numbers, that's why they chipped the puck and just kind of let it go down into the zone, because McDavid and whoever else, I think it might have been Celebrini, was all the way on the attacking end. So once that puck got past him, I'm like, this is danger. Hughes streaking up the left side, perfect pass. Boom, he gets it on the stick. The golden goal, baby. It was an unbelievable finish. Congratulations to the USA hockey team. Our goalie played great. Yeah, you could say that again, Marion. All right. Now, for those who don't know, okay, I played goalie. I was a goaltender. All right. You guys want me to put my mask on? My custom mask. Got the big cross on there. Got the SJP. All right. Look, you got the Philly skyline on the back. I've showed off this mask before. Got the Philly skyline up top above the stop. See that? All right. Down there, you got the KTP, keep the faith for some. What do you guys think? All right. Man, I haven't put this mask on in quite a bit. Now, anyway, I played goaltender. Can I just explain to you how unbelievable what Hellebuyck did yesterday was? Now, there's a lot of great goaltenders out there, and a lot of them will have a game where they have 40 saves and give up one goal. Okay? It'll happen. But when you hear the story of him, you know, you might not know, like the way that youth hockey works. There's double A, there's triple A. Triple A is like the top of the top, and then you have travel teams, then you have juniors, you have stuff like that. But when you're young, triple A is the top of the top in terms of the pipeline to get to the next level. Okay. Triple A is also very expensive. That's what I played when I was a kid. I was a triple A hockey player. All right. Connor Hellebuyck, or however you say his last name, it's a tough name to say. He only played double A because he grew up in a household where he had a brother. Triple A, as I mentioned, is very expensive, and they couldn't afford to put both kids in triple A hockey. So this guy grew up playing double A hockey, and he gets to the Olympic Games as the starting goaltender for the United States of America. And then he proceeds to stop 41 out of 42 shots to win the gold medal for the first time in 46 years on the very same day it was 46 years ago. I mean, you can't write a script better than that. You can't draw that up. Scorsese couldn't do it. You can't draw it up like that. And I don't know if it's because I was a goalie, but I just felt it so much from like that is unfucking real. To stop that many, to play the way he did for his country to win gold. I mean, it was an amazing thing. It really was what an inspiring victory for the United States of America. All right. What an inspiring victory for the United States of America. Sua, what's up, brother? Appreciate your super chat today. He says, Z, you might like this, but I'm super high on Jeremy Bernard. I feel like he would fit this new scheme perfect. I hope we draft him. I'm a big fan. I mean, he's a good player, Sua. I think at times he lacks some, I don't know if it's focus or what it is, but he did have some drops in key moments that I think you got to keep an eye on. But I think he's a very good player. A little undersized, but I think he's a very good player, very strong player. He was my favorite receiver at Alabama this year, so I do like him. All right, I do like him. So I think that's a good one. So here's Go Birds. Jack Hughes spits his teeth on the ice, then goes to score the golden goal. Go Birds. Does it get any better than that? By the way, that kid's awesome. That whole family's awesome. Jack, Quinn, Luke, the parents. I mean, just a grade A American family, all right, producing results for our country. Really, really an awesome story. The whole Hughes family is awesome. By the way, Go Birds. Quinn Hughes. Now he might not be as he might not get the amount of attention that Jack does because Jack is the offensive player. He's an amazing offensive player. Whatever, the whole 9 yards with Jack. First overall pick. Quinn Hughes is a remarkable defenseman. He is the type of defenseman that when they're on the ice, the goalie takes a deep breath. The goalie knows, okay? The goalie knows, all right, we're in a good spot. He is an aggressive defensive-minded defense, if that makes sense. Like, he is aggressive to where he pushes the puck. He makes offensive plays. He makes things happen. But he does it in a way where the play will almost never get behind him. I mean, he is a very fun hockey player to watch. Very fun hockey player to watch. I mean, he is a fundamental, talented defenseman. Quinn Hughes is phenomenal. Exactly right, Go Birds. Great vision, great IQ, great stick, great shot. Just knows how to play the game. Really fun to watch. And Jack Hughes, obviously, is just a stud. I mean, he's a fucking beauty. He's a stud, the way he plays. So, awesome win for the Americans, man. What a great day. It really was. It was really awesome to watch that game. And, man, I felt a great sense of joy. I really did. I was super proud of those players, super proud of our country, super proud of just the way they handled it. I mean, how about Jack Hughes, guys? In a moment where it would be so easy to make it all about you, right? You get hit in the face, you lose your teeth, you hit the game-winning goal, you're 24 years old, the whole country is lighting up about you, all these different things. And the first thing he says when it comes to him is, what a moment this is for our country. I'm so proud to be an American today. All right, this is about our country. This is about this nation. This is about being an American. I mean, it was fucking awesome. It was really awesome. Excuse my language. It was absolutely stone cold awesome. All right, it was stone cold awesome. So, great win for the United States. And congrats to the ladies. Did the ladies beat Canada? How about that, Canada? Canada, the men and the women. Listen, hockey is now an American sport. All right? I love it. Xander, what's up, Dro? How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man. Look at mine. Why are you in America? Why do you live in America? If you hate America so bad, why do you stay? Isn't that a fair question? Like, there are a lot of countries, it's not very hard for an American to change citizenship. Like, I'm just curious. Do you think about leaving? Do you hate it to that point, or is it just kind of a song and dance so you can get your political way? Is that more what it is, Secunda? I love you, Secunda. But is that what it is? You just kind of want your politics to go more your way, so you shit on your own country to make yourself feel better. Is that what it is, or do you think about leaving, Secunda? That would be my question. Johnny Secunda, I love you, pal. Are you on the way out of here? No, probably not. Probably not. That's right, probably not. Everybody loves to shit on America, but nobody's leaving America, and everybody wants to come here. Xander, you see that guy in the ballroom delivering the hurt? I didn't see that. Did that happen? You know who I love, Drew? I'm not sure if you've ever seen this. This is actually very old. This kid's probably old. I'd love to hear from this kid now. But there used to be a famous video on YouTube of the young kid doing the Herb Brooks speech. Have you ever seen that, Drew? Oh, it's freaking awesome. It's freaking awesome. The young kid doing the Herb Brooks speech. Great moments are born from great opportunities. That's what you have here tonight. I love that speech. That's a great speech, man. It really is. Kimberly, what's up, Kimberly? Good to see you. Appreciate you, Kim. Z, my husband is from Poland. He was sworn in 2 years ago, and his thing is a sports journalist in Poland. He was set up at 7 a.m. ready for the hockey game with his. Wow, that's awesome, Kim. Set up for 7 a.m. for the hockey game with his American flag. Really cool. Wow, Kim, that is dope. Kim, really dope. Thanks for sharing that, Kim. I appreciate it. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, that's it, Dro. That's it. Isn't that awesome, Dro? I'm sure you've seen that before. That's a classic, man. That's a real classic. All right. It is sick. That's a good point. Herb is a badass school dad name, old school name. It's very true. Very true. All right. Where's Secunda? Did he answer me? Come on, Johnny Secunda. The Flying Mayan. Come on, Secunda. That's pretty good. All right, guys, great show. All right, something I want to tell you guys about here on JAKIB Sports is, and I want to gauge what you guys are thinking of this. We're gonna start to. We want to push this and get this locked up. Something that we want to do. All right, Eduardo, are you in here? Is Eduardo in here? I don't know if Eduardo's still in here. I know he's been asking about this. But for any people local, any people who have wanted to do some JAKIB in person. All right, we're working on a big home opener. All right, JAKIB Nation VIP Day. All right, there's Eduardo. So we're working on a potential live pregame show before the home opener next year. All right, a tailgate with JAKIB Nation maybe, or I don't know if it'd be a tailgate. Maybe we'd have to do it somewhere where I can do a broadcast. So I don't know if it'd be at the lots. We'd have to work through that. But we did it. We talked to Savvy Seats about it, and Savvy Seats is going to do a great deal with us where we can get game tickets for everybody that shows up. So if we can get 100 people to show up for the JAKIB Nation tailgate, JAKIB Nation pregame show, all right, somewhere down in the city close to the stadium, we would like to do $100, $100. That gets you a ticket to the game. And the JAKIB. Now, I'm not charging you for the JAKIB tailgate. The JAKIB tailgate should be open for anybody. The point would be, though, is that you can all go into the game. We can all go into the game together. Now, I don't know what I have to do because, remember, I got to work. I have to figure out what I have to do because I'm going to have content and stuff for the channel. But that's what we're trying to put together. So I think a lot of you would be interested in it. I can't imagine why not. $100 is going to get you a ticket into the game so we can all go into the game. This is what I have right now written down. Okay. Live pregame show, potentially with an in-person meet and everything for the Birds 365 crew. Okay. Tailgate with JAKIB Nation before kickoff, final location and time. We'll deal with all that. All right. And a ticket to the game. That's the key. That's what you're paying. That's what the $100 is for, the ticket to the game. All right. So a ticket to the game, a live pregame show. I'll try and do the pregame show in a remote location. Maybe bring some of you guys on. That would be pretty fun. All right. If you don't want to come, you don't have to come on. Relax. I know a lot of people get nervous with that. But a pregame show, a tailgate, and a ticket to the game. Now, if you're interested in doing this, all right, I want you to text Krause. You can text them right now. You can text them Birds 365. All right. The number is 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428. All right, we'll get you all squared away. We want to get everybody a ticket to the game. We got 100 tickets. That's it. So we don't have unlimited tickets. We have 100 tickets at that $100 price, which is guys. I mean, anybody who shopped for a ticket, that's a really good freaking price. $100 to get into the Eagles opener. So that's what we're working on, and we want to share it with everybody. I'm looking forward to doing it. I think it'll be pretty good. Once it sells out, it's gonna, that's it. It's once it expires, it's sold out. All right. So I'll put the number on the screen right now, Eduardo, so you can see that, brother. Let me put that on there. All right. Text 267-261-3428. All right. Text them Birds 365. All right, to get some intel on the JAKIB ticket promotion. All right, so this is what we want to do. We want to do a tailgate, a live pregame show in person, and tickets to the Eagles home opener next year. Okay, so text 267-261-3428. Text them Birds 365. That's Krause. That's his real number right there. All right, so don't be bombarding them with a bunch of bullshit. It's not an automated service. It's not an AI. It's none of these things. All right, so don't be a douchebag in the text. So shoot the text. Let's get it popping, man. 100. I know I'm happy you realize that this. So we called Savvy to work this deal out. We said, I'm not looking to. JAKIB Nation is our community. All right, we're looking to give people tremendous value. Meet and greet, because we want to, I want to hang out with, I want to meet the people of JAKIB Nation. Some of you I've met. I met some of you guys at the parade. So I'd love to meet all of you. HKP, Denny, Brian, Sig Lord, El Yepa, the Drozone, Mayan, Eduardo, my boy, Roll Philly, love for you to fly in from Texas. That's what we want to get done. So let me know, guys. We're going to run it hard this week. And if you guys, if we sell it out, we sell it out. We only got 100 of them. It's limited to 2 per person. So let me know. Shoot the text to Krause, and we will get it done. I think it's going to be pretty awesome. I think we're going to have a pretty awesome season, guys. I do. I think the Eagles are going to have a good season. I feel pretty good about it. I understand there's a lot of up in the air, but that's part of being a football fan. You know, there's no guarantee that you're a great team or a shit team every year, right? There's the unknown is part of what makes it fun. And I think the Eagles have had enough success in their recent history to feel pretty optimistic. I mean, there's been times where on the shows, guys, where I've been not so optimistic, but I think when you zoom out and you look and you're like, all right, like they've done enough in the last 4 years to feel pretty good. Nick, Jalen, anybody who hates Jalen, look at what he's done in the last 4 years. Anybody who hates Nick, believe me, and sometimes I'm not acting like you can't be upset or annoyed at the style that they run sometimes. I get it. But there's still a lot of reason for optimism in Eagle Land. I really believe that. And I'm not just telling you that. I when you zoom out a little bit and you look, it's hard to not be real about it and just say, this team has won a lot of freaking games in the last 5 years. You know, I mean, the worst they've ever won was a winning record in Sirianni's first year. They didn't even have A.J. Brown. They didn't have half the defensive players. I mean, they won 9 ball games. Every year after that, it's 11 or more. I mean, this team wins a lot, guys. So they're going to be a good team again. The question will be is how, are they built to go the distance like they were in 24 and 22? We'll find that out. That's something we're going to see. So, guys, shoot the text 267-261-3428. 267-261-3428. Text them Birds 365. Let's get this tailgate popping, everybody. I need all my most loyal people to be down there. All right. HKP, I don't want a bullshit excuse. Devin, I don't need your bullshit excuse. All right. Thomas, I need you there. Sig Lord, I need you there. Denny, I need you there. Izzy B, I need you there. All right. We need all of our great people there. So appreciate all you guys listening today. Good show today. I thought Chris Franklin was good as always. The number's on the screen, Jason. You might be at work. 267-261-3428. Tony, I need you there, brother. I didn't forget about you, Tony. You just weren't you weren't there, man. I didn't see the name. So thanks everybody for being here. Good show today. All right, good show today. Combine week is kicking off. Draft season is really going to start to kick in gear. It's an exciting time for draft season, man. Exciting time for draft season. So we will see who the Eagles take. Love all you guys. Send those texts, man. Let's get them going. I'd love to get everybody locked in. Savvy really kind of made it happen for us with this deal. I told him I'm not coming to JAKIB Nation with a crate. Like, I'm not saying, $350 for a ticket. I'm not doing that. I want this deal to be a home run for the great people of JAKIB Nation. All right. They're great supporters. All right. They've made our show stay on the air. And I want to get them a great deal and an opportunity to meet everybody. That's what I think would be pretty awesome to get everybody together. So thanks, everybody, for being here, for doing it today. Big shout out to the great Fritz and Bianculli Law Firm, Brian Fritz. Go to FBESQ.com. All right, if you need Brian Fritz, give him a call. All right, he's one of the best in the business. I mean it. He's a real dude, man. He's not one of these attorneys that is, looking to boost the bottom line. That's it. Real dude. He'll connects with all his clients, connects with the great people. So appreciate everybody listening today. See you next time, everybody.
EAGLES. Eagles.